What is your source of truth? How do you get that? We're going to find that out and more today on a Clarion Voice. Good morning. Live from the Hub Studios. This is a Clarion Voice, and this is Mark Sobowitz along with Mike Donaldson and Debbie behind the scenes, making us look good. And we hope that you're enjoying your Tuesday. Just enjoy today because it's going to get warmer as we go along during the week. So, anyways, we hope that you're doing well. And today we're going to explore about can you own your own truth? So the question is, what do you use as your truth? What source do you use? I mean, speaking for myself, I mean, I use the word of the Bible as the truth. I also, am a. I like to watch the news. I get all sorts of information from different sources, the internet and whatever. But it doesn't necessarily mean that it's my truth, because my friend Mike over here has always been nice enough to send me information that sort of makes me think, was that really the truth? And so, anyways, good morning, Mike. How are you, sir?
Good morning.
And so you're sending me the information about various subjects to counter, not negatively, but counter, what I've received, just to give me another viewpoint of what my truth should be. Would that be accurate or?
Yeah, like for instance, they're finding more and more about the body all the time. And they say this is bad for you. Don't do that. If they see a fatty liver, they say, well, then you better cut out fat because the fat's causing you fat. But that's not what was causing you fat. It was the carbohydrates.
Right.
So for 25 years you've been,
Mm-hmm.
cutting out the fats, and you've been carb loading because you're thinking, well, but it's the opposite. So now they're finding, well, this was actually good for you. You were eating fine. So how do how do you rectify this? Because they're finding it out, and I'm thankful that they're finding it out, and there is, truth now in that aspect. But my goodness, I mean, there's a lot of people that don't get that information. Yeah, but the government says I can have Fruit Loops in the morning,
I know.
what
You
I'm
see,
saying?
that's
I
where the
just don't get that.
misinformation comes from, I think, in a way, because people that don't take the time to look into various subjects, they go on the emotion of what they're hearing,
Right.
and the news is a perfect example of that, because there's a lot of things that the mainstream news outlets do not say, which are below the surface.
They hold back, yeah.
Yeah, they hold back, and then when you find out what the truth really is,
Oh,
then
it's
you're thinking,
upsetting.
"What?"
It's upsetting.
Very, very much so. I mean,
Yeah.
because that's what drives me crazy, because I find out about these things. I mean, I watch mainstream news, I watch, the internet and all
Right.
that sort of thing. Then I get, different sources and whatever. And then, like I mentioned earlier, when you send me, something that talks about that subject, for example, about, slavery. You sent me something about slavery a while back, and I looked at the reel and I said, "Oh my gosh, it's not what I thought it was." You see, so is it discrediting my source of truth, or?
It changes your perspective of the truth.
Well, yes, it does. It does. That's
Yeah.
good.
Yeah.
It's good in a way if you're ready to, own up to the fact that, okay, well, here's another side to it. And
Yeah.
then,
Right. So
you,
weigh it. you know.
But I think people go based on the emotion. I mean, a perfect example of that, in my recollection, is that when we had Y2K, right?
Yeah, yeah.
Y2K, everybody was panicking, because of what they thought was going to happen when it turned to year 2000.
What they were told to expect to
Uh,
happen in the year 2000.
Okay.
Isn't that more the truth of
Yeah,
what happened?
yeah, I think
We
so.
were told expect, you know, power outages throughout the United
Yeah,
States.
right.
Expect, because all the clocks are going to blow up and you can't own a computer unless it's,
Yeah.
all these things.
And it
It's like,
didn't
wait a
happen.
minute. Yeah, it
It,
didn't
it, it
happen.
didn't happen.
Nothing happened.
You see, and your source, whatever you use as your source of truth, folks, can get blown up real easily because of the fact that there are other sources of information, and that you can use in order to change your perspective. I mean, we were talking before we, came on about, well, if it's not in the word, it's not truth, or whatever. Wait, whoa, 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 wait a minute, wait a minute. We're talking about the fact that if you have a relationship with the Lord, if he communicates something to you and you speak it to somebody, well, that's part of the relationship that you have that you've developed, but that's not necessarily in the Bible because it's like being prophetic.
Right.
Okay.
Right.
Being prophetic is not necessarily, in the Bible per se. It's, it says, I mean, Paul clearly says that it would be better to prophesize than it is to speak in tongues.
I, I hope that all of you speak in tongues, or no,
Right.
I hope that all of you prophesy.
Right, and
Right.
then speaking it, and he said speaking in tongues is okay, but he
Yeah.
would rather that, somebody prophesies.
With the intelligible word.
Yes,
Yeah.
right,
Of
because tongues
understanding. Right.
tongues are not necessarily intelligible unless you get
Well,
a translation.
let's just say that you were searching something, an answer or a fix, I need to be healed emotionally or whatever. And you, you know, in other words, it doesn't help for me to come and just speak tongues at you.
Yeah, right.
But if I gave you the intelligible word that I got from the Lord to speak to you to that condition or what it is, answer that you were looking for, I mean, that has power because you understand it.
Right.
And I love the fact that when God gives you a word, he'll give it to you, from somebody else in the way that you'll understand it.
Right. I mean, that's a source of truth because of your relationship,
And because he is the truth.
right. You see, and that's the thing. I mean, it reminds me of the old telephone game.
Oh, right.
Right? I mean, you have 6 people sitting in a line and you start with one message and it turns out to be totally,
Yeah.
totally different because
Yeah.
of the way people are hearing it.
Mhm.
Now that's the part of the problem also because, whatever source of truth that you're using, the way that you're hearing it, the way you're understanding it may not necessarily be accurate
Mm. Yeah.
because you don't have all the facts. And that's the problem, you see, because people don't
Right.
take the time to research.
That falls short on the emotional end of it. They hear something that may not have a full amount of truth in it. Okay. They get emotional about it.
Mhm.
It doesn't matter what you tell them after that, they won't change their mind because their emotions are attached to believing that. And that's what seems to happen a lot in media.
Yes.
There is a time when they wanted to draw you in so they could get clicks, right? You clickbait, we call it,
Right.
and so they would say, so and so does thus and so, see what happens next.
Mhm. Yeah.
I'm outraged. What'd they say after that?
Right.
It was this, what was that guy? He's in New York, the shock jock,
Oh, Howard Stern?
Howard Stern. Did you know when they did they asked people, they did a survey. I don't know if you've seen the movie. It's just incredibly funny. I thought they, they asked him, they says, you know, why do you watch Howard Stern? You know, he says, well, we watch him because, um, 50% watch him because they love him or listen to him. It says, well, what about the other 50%? Well, they don't like him. Well, why are they listening? Because they want to hear what he's going to say next.
So you got to figure, wait a minute. It's like turning off the TV. If you don't want to hear it, you don't watch it.
Right.
You see,
But it's like this thing about wanting to be outraged. I want to care about something, care about the poor, care about, and some people, I mean, that is their jam, boy. They love to help the poor and or the homeless, and some people are really into widows, and some people are really into, um, like helping vets, and so there's niches in all of these things that help people. You can be outraged. Be outraged for those that are being trafficked. So with all the human traffic, you want to be outraged about that, then do something about it. But instead, they just want to be outraged about dumb things. In my opinion.
Well, that's true. I mean, because I run into that all the time, in my line of work. They get outraged
Dumb
over the
things?
littlest
Oh
things.
yeah, that's true.
Yes,
That's true. That's true.
okay, we're talking about sources of truth. The classic example of what is what is truth, as Pilate said,
Okay.
is this, what we've been dealing with for the last few years with the pandemic.
Mhm.
Everybody is getting their take on, COVID or how it relates to them and whatever,
Right.
and things like that. Okay.
Yeah.
So your sources of truth were supposedly medical people that knew what they were talking about.
Scientist.
Yes, scientists, right? Okay, well, guess what, folks? They didn't know what they were talking about, and I'll tell you why.
Or they just full on lied to you.
Yeah, they just they didn't know what they were talking about, and I'll tell you why. Because we've talked about this before. Because I have a friend in Oregon,
Yeah.
who is the administrator of a senior center, and he told me something the other day that just blew me away. Because there are like 20 senators similar in the general area that he's working in Oregon. Okay, um, and so the common denominator is the fact that most of the residents are in their late 70s, early 80s, whatever. Okay,
Yeah.
so and some of them have underlying symptoms of health things, various reasons, and they all, for the most part, took their booster shots.
Right.
Now, everybody, that's in the public eye had said, well, you need to take your booster shots. They had this big advertising campaign that said you need to take the booster shots because it'll help prevent COVID and whatever. Okay, guess what?
What?
They all died. They took their regimen of booster shots, and I would say, for the most part, their death was precipitated by the booster shots. When in reality, all this advertising, whatever you consider your source of truth, science, whatever it is, or public figures who said, "Oh, you have to take your booster shot." That's baloney. It's absolute baloney because that's the truth. The truth is that unfortunately, people passed away, and most of the people that pass away from COVID now are over 65. They all take for the most part, they all take their booster shots. And so their sources of truth was either doctors or family members or somebody said, well, hey, you better take this booster shot because otherwise you're going to get COVID. Come on now. The facts are there. The facts have always been there, except they didn't rise to the level of the mainstream media or any other source for that matter. You have to dig in order to find that out, or you have to have it personally in your family.
Right.
See, your source of truth is not what you think it is. Okay, the source of truth that I believe in is the Bible. Not everything is in the Bible, but if you have a relationship with the Lord, that's truth. If he communicates to you or you generate a
He'll
reaction.
always tell you the truth. God
He-
will never lie to you.
Yeah, absolutely. Everybody else will, but God won't.
Isn't that interesting?
Very much. I mean, because so then we have to identify, okay,
The
if you're
devil is the liar.
what?
The devil is a liar.
Absolutely. Well,
So if you're lying, guess what?
so
You're-
then that comes to wisdom and discernment. You see, you have to be discerning about the fact that if you have a relationship with the Lord and you know that the devil is going to try to undermine that, okay, then you have to be discerning, okay, is this the Lord speaking the truth to me, or is it a lie
Right.
that the devil is trying to get you to believe?
Fear. I don't know if God doesn't ever seem to bring fear. That would be a good indication. If someone's trying to make you afraid of something,
Mhm.
step back a moment and assess it.
Well, yeah, I am a perfect example of that sometimes because I, draw conclusions unnecessarily about things that haven't even happened yet because
but you're getting better every day.
yes, I am. I am getting better at it because I identified the problem. I'm working on trying to, change the way I think
Good.
because that's what it says in Romans 12. Do not be conformed to this world, but be transformed by the renewing of your mind, that you would prove what is the good, acceptable, and perfect will of God. Well, guess what? When you are transforming your mind, you are also identifying what is your source of truth and what are you going to believe to go forward. That's, the way I look at it. I mean,
Yeah.
because and it really bugs me. It's not that I don't appreciate what you send me, but it's just that it drives me crazy when wait a minute, how come nobody else is saying this? Or how come it's not being brought to the public eye because uh what was it a couple of years when the pandemic started, the people drew on the emotion, or this is going to happen, whatever. I mean, people hoarded toilet paper. Hello?
Yeah,
Why?
that's my go-to.
I mean, why? Why did they do that? Because they believed what was supposedly the truth that it wasn't going to be available and so on and so forth.
Yeah.
There were people that went back to Costco, I should say, after they hoarded the toilet paper and said, "Could you take this back?" You know what Costco said? Heck no.
Oh yeah.
You bought it. Too bad. It's that's you see, and that's what happens when you base your truth on emotion.
Y2K.
And
Perfect example.
oh yeah,
We've come
absolutely.
right back to it.
Oh yeah, absolutely. That's crazy.
But
So
can you own your own?
can you?
No,
You can't.
you can't own it. And I think that's just hilarious. Well, that's my truth. No, that's
Okay.
your belief. That's your thing that you want to believe in. But it's
In
not
case
your
in case you're wondering, we may be having a technical difficulty here, so bear with us for a minute. We're trying to figure out what's going on. So if you hear what we're saying, then that's okay. You don't need to. You don't necessarily need to see us, but
oh, the monitor went out. We may be still on, but
okay,
but just the monitoring system may be kind of
okay. Well,
wonky.
that's okay.
So
That's why I say that if you hear what we're saying, then it's okay.
yeah.
You don't need to don't
Oh,
need to
and
see
look at
us.
that. We're good.
Yeah,
We're
but
golden.
anyways, um, so you have to discover what your source of truth is and what you believe, and you have to, when somebody tells you something, you have to stand back and say, I wonder if this is really true, instead of basing it on the emotion of your reaction.
Yeah. Now here's Proverbs. If you rebuke a fool, he will mock you. If you rebuke a wise man, he will thank you. Okay, so what does the rebuke mean? Wait, stop, listen. You may not have all the facts. That's a rebuke.
Right.
Stop marching for this because you don't have all the facts. Right? So that is like a rebuke. You know, don't say thus and so because you haven't heard thus and so or even assessed it. Well, I don't want to. This is my truth. Well, then what are you if someone says, "Hey," and you mock them back? Well, you're just a blankety blank 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 blank.
Right.
Let's just say, let me just put the end of it, phobic, because that's you're a million different adjectives, phobic, you're or I should say noun, homophobic, xenophobic, and thisophobic, and thatophobic, and they'll say all these things. Well, you just made yourself look like a fool because you didn't even consider it. Nope, don't want to change my mind. You were the fool.
Right.
Think about it first.
But that's environmental, you see, because if you grew up in an atmosphere that said this is the truth, the way I believe it, and
Mhm.
your parents communicated that to you, and
Right.
then you believed it, until
You become a teenager.
very true.
And
Probably even earlier than that.
well, that's when I started questioning things, I mean, I remember a time. You okay over there? No? Are we out?
Are we out?
That's your fault. It's been having weird things. I mean, is it monitor issues or?
The monitor went totally black, and then I checked, went over to check the sys tray where the Google was, the YouTube link, and it just said no picture, no.
Yeah, because I'm looking at blue right now.
Well, okay.
Oh well, we got the point across, I think.
Probably not your fault.
I needed to stop you guys. I wanted to hear what you said. And it won't open this up, so it's not, the monitor's not. Receiving for some reason. What did you do, Mike?
I flipped the switch.
There's an offline, okay. Okay, I'm gonna
So
write that
StreamYard. We're still live.
Oh, you kidding?
Are we really?
We are still live, Mark.
Okay.
You're there.
I am there. Hello. In case you were wondering, we are experiencing some technical difficulties, so bear with us. We hope that you are getting the point of what Mike and I have been talking about regarding truth. And so determine for yourself, what is your source of truth? And can you own up to it? Can you own it? Is that really something that you can believe in? And I think that if you take emotion out of it and you are willing to acknowledge certain things, then you need to just recognize what is the truth. But as Mike said earlier, in case you didn't catch it, God never lies. He is the truth. And so that is something that you should bear in mind, in the future. And so we hope you'll think about all of that today. And if you hear something on the news or whatever, then take it with a grain of salt. Don't necessarily believe it. Do some research. Decide for yourself. Don't go on the emotion of the moment. We hope that you will share this video and like it. And We also hope that you will hit the bell for future notifications. We apologize for the technical difficulties, but in any case, this is Mark Sobowitz live from the Hub Studios with a Clarion Voice.